Well, I'm in Jerusalem, and behind me is the holiest of holy sites, Temple Mount. It's home to the Al-Aqsa Mosque, the Wailing Wall. Standing with me now is Dr. Ron Wexler. And Dr. Wexler, what is your title, please, sir?
President of the Heritage Study Programs.
Okay, and now the big question I think our audience wants to know is, what has changed in terms of those making a pilgrimage to Temple Mount, those just visiting it as tourists, going back years ago as it exists today?
Well, ironically, not too many people came here on a pilgrimage before 1967. Obviously, the shrine and the mosque were here since 1400 years ago, but it wasn't considered such a holy place. Everybody knows about Mecca and Medina. Very few came to Jerusalem. However, after 1967, when Israel took control and sovereignty over the mountain, people started to claim that this is a very important place, and demands were put on Israel to allow people to come here on pilgrimages.
And can you give us an idea of the kind of, I guess, accommodation to Islam that has been made in recent years in terms of coming on this site?
Well, immediately after the 6 Days War, a decision was made to give the management of the mountain to the Waqf, which is basically the Islamic headquarters in Jerusalem and all over Israel. In the beginning, it seemed to have worked rather well. They allowed visits, they allowed people to come into the shrines and the mosques, but as years started to go by, those things changes. Specifically after the Oslo Accord, when nationalism became a big issue here, so was the sovereignty over the mountain. Restrictions started to come on a daily basis, starting from modesty and ended up with Jews not allowed in the mountain to pray.
Yeah, that was really the tipping point, the Oslo Accords, and we were there earlier, Dr. Wexler, and it was a fascinating sight to see. It was a small party of Jewish men coming into the Temple Mount area where the mosque was, and it was under armed guard, and as I understand it, they're not even allowed to silently voice prayers. That's one of the conditions of having passage here.
Well, not praying on the mountain is not uniquely to the Jew. Non-Muslims cannot pray on the mountain, so when we come here with a group of Christians, they are not allowed to pray here either, and not even bring any relics of any kinds. People who display crosses would be stopped and be told to remove, or any rosaries or anything of Christian symbols. However, with the Jews, it's 100-fold. The Jews are allowed to come to the mountain only in groups of 12 at a time, and they've been given about 20 minutes. Therefore, throughout the day, or the time that they allow people to come, period, which is about 4 hours a day, very, very few Jews can come. When they come, they provoke a lot of animosity on the mountain. The Muslims try to make sure that Jews not only pray, but not even mimic anything that could be considered as prayer. So if the lips are moving, they come and stop them. To make sure that the Jews are safe, for every Jew that come to the mountain, and there are only 12 at a time, there will be 12 policemen or armed forces that will go with them to protect them, and they are there for their protection. With them there will be also the Muslim security guys. However, lucky for us, they are not allowed to carry arms.
And Dr. Wexler, I think people watching this video and hearing your comments must be absolutely baffled. This site is in the state of Israel. Israel is a sovereign nation. This seems to me to be a case of the tail wagging the dog in terms of a religious minority laying down all these rules of engagement in order to come visit a site that is in the sovereign Jewish state of Israel. It doesn't add up to me. What's your take on this?
This doesn't add up to me either. It's a cry for generation. It's a political decision that was made. King Hussein at the time got to be the patron of the Temple Mount. So there's not only a political issue, there's also a cultural issue here. Truth of the matter is that there's an uproar about what's going on here. It is our mountain, been our mountain. Unfortunately, we witnessed just in the last year that UNESCO declared it to be a non-Jewish heritage place.
Wait a minute, a non-Jewish heritage, so they only recognize the dominance of Islam here at Temple Mount.
That's correct. Jerusalem as a whole and the Temple Mount were declared as a non-Jewish heritage places by UNESCO. Well, thank God we have a new president in the United States of America, and the ambassador of the United States in the United Nations is making an awful lot of noise about it, and I don't think that any declaration of UNESCO worthwhile the papers was the paper they're written on. However, that's the case. Yes, this is a sovereign Israel. What we're seeing here, this is a part of Israel. Yet we gave the Muslims the opportunity to manage the place, and that's what they turn the place to be.
Well, there you have it, folks. I mean, that's the end result, isn't it, of reasonable accommodation and acquiescement and outright capitulation. Is there any thanks to this, to what the Israelis are doing for all this accommodation? No. So perhaps a cautionary tale for us in the West, as we too are continually given demands by radical Islam to reasonably accommodate this ideology. From Temple Mount, I'm David the Benzoid Menzies for Rebel.media. Hey folks, some of your favorite rebels are right here in Israel, and we're filing reports daily. Please visit rebelisrael.com and get the latest from the Holy Land.